Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 172 of the Backlot 605 podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I am Case Kelman. Joined with me, as always, and returning, are my co-hosts, Sam Lentz, who was here last week.
Hello. How's it going?
Hello, Sam. We are on a podcast.
Welcome to the delay.
Oh, gosh. Is it delayed?
Oh, Sam. Oh, Sam. Oh, Sam.
And we're getting a Super Bowl right now or something.
No, you're good.
No.
You're good now. It was just funny that you waved and didn't say anything. I'm like, we are on a podcast. This is audio.
I always forget. I see this as like a Zoom call, and so I'm just like, oh, hey, everybody, and I don't talk. And then I realize that this is an audio medium, and I should probably be more than just a semi-attractive face.
You should be more than just the pretty face on the show, Sam. That is true. And returning to the show, Brian Mensing. Welcome back.
Hey, I'm actually here and I'm talking right away, unlike Sam.
No wave, nothing. Getting straight into it. This is audio form of content here. As we are entering our last week of Viola Davis month here for the month of February. We're ending it off with a bang with her Oscar-winning performance in the 2016 film Fences.
Is this the only thing she's won an Oscar for?
Yes. So far.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into it. Yeah, this is an Oscar-winning performance from a powerhouse actress, from a powerhouse actor and director, Denzel Washington, and we are joined by fellow South Dakota movie buff, fellow South Dakota movie podcaster from the Fellowship of the Mic podcast, Shandra. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hello.
How's everyone?
Good.
How are you?
I'm pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Are you ready to talk about Viola Davis's cameo in The Two Towers? Because that's what we're talking. Wait. What a weird movie to have a person who has a Lord of the Rings podcast come on for. Yeah. I don't know how this came about, but we are very happy to have you on.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing, since we just brought it up there, what is the Fellowship of the Mic podcast?
Well, it is a podcast that my co-host and I, Satch, started May of 2021. So we're not even a year old yet. And we just sort of discuss all like our love for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like the movie specifically, but we delve a little bit into like the books and the lore and everything like that too.
Real question then.
Awesome.
Extended cut or the theatrical cut?
Extended for sure.
Okay.
But The Return of the King is not good. And like there's a lot that should like there's a reason why he Jackson cut it, I think, in the Return of the King. It gets
I'm okay with the extended
for 4 hours in the
until
theater.
the last one.
Yeah, it can be a lot.
4 endings are enough. We don't need 7.
Yeah, it's just the horrible CGI in The Return of the King that really kind of aggravates me.
That's right. That's where he like almost like skateboards like Tarzan from the Disney movie down like a tail or a trunk, right?
Yeah, that's all right. But I mean, at least it's not as bad as The Hobbit. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Less said about those, the better.
Yeah.
You figure by the end of that movie and all of those extended cuts and everything, they were running out of money. They had to get a little weird, I guess.
Yeah. I guess so. Maybe it's just Jackson being weird in general as a person.
Well, he is. Yes, he definitely is. If you ever have seen his early work, he's a weirdo, and that's good, and that's why we love him. But also, you do have a film Instagram page, which I'm always fascinated on, because we have guests that have like film Instagram pages. That's how we met one of our good friends, Somewhat Random Movie Collection, Corey, is through that. So what made you want to like kind of show your love of film on the interwebs that way?
It was a weird thing in like 2020. I just got lost in the Filmstagram. It's like Filmstagram is what people call it. It's so dumb to call it that, but it was the pandemic. I was on unemployment. I was just like, how can I get more involved in Instagram? Facebook is dying. I don't know. So I started following a whole bunch of these film pages, and on my personal account, I had not made a film account yet. And then I just decided to jump into it last year, October-ish. And or 2 years, sorry. It's been over a year now. And it just like movies are my life. So I might as well just sort of kind of do a hobby, get myself back into writing. Since college, I just kind of fell out and I was just like, let's just kind of write some stuff again.
Yeah, and that is Film Forager, correct?
Yeah.
On Instagram. So yeah, go check that out, people. And you also said because of your movie love that that's part of your job as well. Can we talk a little bit about the actual gig, the job?
Yeah. So May, I guess, was a big year, like a big month for me last year. So I started the podcast in May, and then I also started my job at the theater in May as well, at the Coyote Twin here in Vermilion. And it jumped, like I was just a concessions worker at first, part-time job. I have a full-time job too. And they like within a few months, I was kind of like working on being the manager, training to be the manager over there, co-managing. There's another manager too. So that works out because we both have like full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's awesome. Obviously, films are a big part of your life. As you're wearing a variant RoboCop Japanese T-shirt right now, which that shirt is awesome, by the way.
He's jealous. He's very jealous.
I am definitely jealous, as I'm wearing a shitty Mountain Dew T-shirt, hoping Diet Mountain Dew or Code Red Mountain Dew will sponsor this podcast. If you are listening out there, please do so. I will drink it like Jesse Eisenberg.
Bust, Casey.
Do they even make Livewire anymore?
Oh,
yeah.
But
they do.
Soda's the best. Okay. I haven't had a Mountain Dew, and I don't even know how long.
I don't either. I just have the shirt for some reason.
They bring like Livewire out in the summertime.
Yeah.
Remember the black Mountain Dew? That was weird.
Pitch black, grape one? Yeah.
No, I do not remember that.
Oh my god.
Caused people to get sick.
That caused your entire mouth to just turn like this dark purple. And other things turned purple too. It was bad. It was bad epidemic.
You keep that to yourself there, Sam.
This is a new version of me and Sam's new spinoff show, Dew Heads, except it's spelled D-E-W this time instead of Scooby-Doo.
I would rather listen to you guys spew about Scooby-Doo more than Mountain Dew. I'm just saying.
We'll do both, Sam. We'll make it happen.
I've got some flaming hot takes on Mountain Dew, Brian.
That's for the Cheetos podcast, Sam. Flamin' hot takes. Anyway, let's get back on track here. One more question before we jump into fences and our talk here. What is what's if you were going to be on a desert island and only had to take one movie with you? What's that movie?
Does the trilogy count?
Yes.
Then that.
Okay.
Obviously.
The Mighty Ducks trilogy. That's a good pick.
Wrong trilogies. That would be like me saying the Back to the Future trilogy is the one she's talking about. Let her have her own.
The Shyamalan trilogy, of course.
Good pick. You're in good company by bringing up Mr. M. Night on this show. Lord of the Rings trilogy. Great pick. Can't go wrong with that. Let's jump into today's podcast, though. The movie of the week, the movie of discussion. It is from 2016. It is Fences. Guys, I for some reason thought this movie was like 2018 or 2019. I did not realize it is almost 6 years old now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does not feel like that long ago.
It's older than I thought too, because I was like, wow, this is not a new movie anymore.
Yeah.
And that just made me feel old because, like, to me, like someone's like, hey, name an Oscar winner from the last couple of years. I'd be like, Fences. and it's not a couple of years anymore. Like,
No,
it's
not at all.
half a dozen years removed from this movie. Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that, and I don't know, maybe time has just been non-existent for the last 2 years, and 2016 is actually only 3 years ago. So
It's
maybe that's
almost
part
like
of it.
it's almost like a global pandemic just shut everything down, and the entire world in the last 2 years has just been kind of, non-existent.
Yeah. It's just been there. It's happened. And now it's all of a sudden 6 years removed from Fences. This movie is based on the August Wilson stage play of the same name, Fences, the critically acclaimed play. And it is directed by Denzel Washington in a rather rare directorial effort from the acclaimed actor. Co-stars Denzel, Viola Davis, Stephen McKinley Henderson, Russell Hornsby, and Jovan Adipo, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. But it, like I said, is based on the acclaimed play from August Wilson. Do you guys remember when this movie came out, or your first time watching it, if this was not your first time? I'll start in the corner there with Sam.
This was my first time watching it. I mean, I remember it coming out and there being like a lot of buzz about it. And I'm a Denzel fan, but it never crossed my schedule. I just never got around to it. So part of the reason that, I wanted to do Viola Davis month is to fill in a couple of like big Viola Davis blind spots for me. And this was one of them. So yeah, it was the first time watching. I dug it a lot. I could tell it was based on a stage play from, the fact that it was mostly like a single location. There wasn't a lot of like, I hesitate to say cinematic qualities because there's plenty of those, but it very much felt like I was watching a recorded stage play. And the whole time, all I could think of was, this would be so cool to actually see with this cast live, where like anything could happen, little nuances. Like, I don't know. We talk about movies a lot here. We don't talk about theater a lot, but like sometimes, especially with like really well acted pieces and like scripts that need tremendous performances, I just like watching that stuff live a little bit more, I felt similarly about last year's Mass with Martha Plimpton and Ann Dowd.
Yeah.
Like, powerhouse movie. I would love to see a stage play of it.
And the good thing about it too is just because the way it's designed and whatnot, to translate it to a stage play would be one of the easiest things ever.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's like my initial quick reaction.
Brian, what about you?
First time watching it was yesterday at about this time. I would certainly say is that I guess I didn't right out of the gate I did not notice that it was very central located in terms of the house and whatnot until after I was reading like, oh, it was a Pulitzer Prize, it was a play. Okay, that makes sense. But for me, it didn't take anything away from it. But once I knew that, then it was clearly obvious. But sometimes I think just, having something that is a very central located, basically one place where everything takes place and whatnot, you get more gripping performances out of your actors instead of having to worry about everything that's going on around you. So I think it actually, adds to the layers of the characters by not having to worry about where the hell it's taking place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember when this movie came out. I just did not think it was 2016. I just thought it was like 3 years ago. But I do remember when this came out, and the hubbub surrounding it was Viola Davis and Denzel, and obviously all the Oscar nominations that came along with it, and the Oscar win for Viola Davis. So this was also a first time watch for me, and much like Sam, I could immediately tell like, yeah, this is definitely adapted from a stage performance in a stage play, but that's not taking away from anything in the film because the performances are just dynamite. And I did just look it up because I was like, I know Denzel and Viola Davis did perform this together on stage. It was 2010 when they were
say, I thought
doing
that's what I had read, that's what gave him the idea to do it and to put her in it.
Yeah.
Nice.
We were.
I would have paid big money to see that.
Yeah, so we're about a decade removed from seeing those two dynamic actors performing together live on stage for that. But I mean, like great adaptations do, you bring on people who perform it best, and I mean, there's no two better actors in the world right now that you could pick for this than Denzel and Viola Davis. Like this is a movie where only those two could play this. These roles in it.
Absolutely.
So, was this a first time watch for you as well?
Yes, it was. I watched it on Thursday, I believe. I remember like all of my friends talking about it. I watched the Oscars. I remember Viola Davis like winning her award, but yeah, like my friend has a movie night every Tuesday, and I think he had contemplated on actually showing it for a movie night, like back when it was, just released. But he never did, because he chooses very wisely, like, how length of a movie, how intense of a movie you should show to like common
right
movie watchers or something like that. So yeah, so he had talked about it and he was just praising Viola Davis's performance, and I can't believe I just watched it. I was blown away.
Yeah, she's incredible in this movie.
She is just incredible in this. So is Denzel. I think both of them together are just dynamite in this movie. Like from the opening shot though, because I kept hearing like, oh, it's based on a stage play. It's pretty much in one location, either outside the house or inside the house, like it would be on stage. But when the movie opens with Denzel, who plays Troy Maxon, I guess we should get into the plot before we get into the movie. A working class African American father tries to raise his family in the 1950s while coming to terms with the events of his life. That man being Mr. Denzel Washington, who portrays Troy with his wife Rose and his best friend Jim Bono, and then sons Corey and Lyons as well. But when the movie opens with Denzel and Jim Bono, like that's where like the big cinematic qualities come out for this movie. I can kind of picture, because I've not seen the stage play, of what that might have looked like, and it could have just been in the backyard for all I know of where that takes place in terms of the stage. But the fact that we're just following these two guys having a conversation on the back of a garbage truck about their life, about getting a promotion, about what are the next steps we have to take to get off the back of this truck and get inside the truck and kind of level up in our job performance. And I thought that was a really great way to open this movie, of following Denzel and his best friend, and a great cinematic way to open this stage play as well.
Yeah, I agree. I was taken aback by like knowing it was based on a stage play. I was kind of taken aback by both the beginning and the very end, where I think more like cinematic shots, for lack of a better term, happened, where it was you've got the clouds and the sky shots at the end, and here like you're following the garbage truck at first up top, which I thought was just a really cool idea to ease you into the movie, because that's what it does. It literally just eases you into these characters. There's no like big like snappy thing. It's just you're following a day in the life of these people, and that's kind of how this whole movie is. There are like rises and falls in the action, but there's nothing that's like, I don't know, nothing like earth rattling until like, kind of towards the end there. But yeah, I was taken aback with how easygoing this movie is. I was expecting something that maybe I don't know, maybe a little bit more Oscar baity than what this is. Like, I didn't feel like there was ever any like big splashy performances. It very much
sometimes they don't need to be. Sometimes everybody's performance is what makes it splashy.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I appreciated about it, was I was like, this is not, this is not the Oscar montages where it's someone just yelling or crying. I mean, there's there are those things present, but it's much more understated in this than it is in a lot of movies with like similar thematic elements. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like building for like the intense moment that you know we eventually get.
Right.
Yeah, I think the especially the first half of this movie, maybe even 3/4 of this movie, is really just people hanging out in the backyard or in the living room and just talking. And I found that stuff just fascinating and riveting, and that's purely performance based, and that's what you have to have on stage, especially if you're just gonna have people sitting down and talking, telling stories, or telling about their life, or you know, people coming in and out of scenes as well. And this movie has that throughout the movie of people coming in and out, and you can tell, all right, this is where people are entering stage, getting off stage, where what our set might look like on a stage as well. But I think for this movie, like the big standout for me is our two leads here, because they don't feel like you said, Sam, like they're giving Oscar Beatty performances. They're just portraying these people in their day-to-day, everyday life, and do it so well where I forget it's Viola Davis and Denzel Washington half the time in this movie. Because Denzel,
Jared Leto should take some notes from this movie.
Always the Jared Leto hater.
What are you talking? Denzel didn't add like 50 pounds of fat on his face for this performance. Sam, what are you talking about?
I know. You should have been talking like Mario for the entire movie.
That's one thing we talked about last week, is that, like, especially with like Viola Davis, she doesn't need makeup, prosthetics, or anything like that to enhance her performance. It's just her. Where you look at the last all 4 movies that we talked about this month, from Get On Up to Widows to The Help to now Fences, those are 4 very different people, and you can't tell that it's Viola Davis anytime she's in those roles, because it is just that character at that moment, and I think that just is a testament to her as a performer. And I think Denzel here too. I love Denzel Washington, but again, he is just a rat bastard in this, especially in the second half. But there's glimpses and teases of it in the first part of this movie where you're like, yeah, there's definitely like, oh, he's kind of this dad, like just kind of this everyday working man's dad. But then layers start getting peeled back of his past, his present, and you're like, nah, you're kind of just a shitty person, aren't you?
Well, you know, and what's great about Denzel what's great about him in this though too is that, you know, you're like, oh yeah, okay, he's definitely the villain of the story. He's definitely an asshole, but you realize that Denzel is capable of being way, way worse than this. Like if you think of like Training Day and whatnot, and you're like, you know he can go there, and you're just kind of questioning while watching this movie, how far is he really going to go? Because you know that, you know, Denzel's willing to go that far, and you're like, all right, well, there's some glimmer of he's a good guy in there. He just feels like the world is against him, kind of thing, considering the time that this, you know, takes place.
Yeah, the scene with the baseball bat in the backyard with his son is like, that's intense. It's very much one of those like, and like I said, it's underplayed, so it's not like it's not big or screamy or loud, but there's just this like unnerving quality just slowly layered underneath that whole sequence. It's just like, oh my god, like, yeah,
that's the scene that's the scene that sticks out to me too, because at the end of that scene where he gets into this argument with his son, and it ends with them, like the son trying to get past Denzel, and he pulls a bat on Denzel, and they have this little tussle, and ends up with Denzel with the bat against his son's neck, and he lets go, and he's going to let the son just kind of leave. Again, with a great performance like that, I was like, there's 2 ways this can go. He's either just going to be a dirtbag human being and still tell his son to get the hell out of here, or he's going to reach down and pick his son's hand up and pull him back up. Obviously, he doesn't do that, but there is that in that character. He could have done that, and it wouldn't have been out of character for him to do so. And I think that's just performance-based of kind of this, like, what is this guy going to do? Because he is a human being after all.
Yeah. Well, and they take great lengths to like humanize why he is the way he is, like the economic situation, especially like being a black man in the 1950s. Like there's so much there that it's like you understand where he's coming from every time. And that's kind of the scary thing about this movie is you don't like his character. His character, like you said, is a rat bastard. But you're also kind of like, maybe I would be too. And you know what I mean? Like, it does that like weird thing where it makes you identify with this kind of terrible person. And it's freaky. I don't know. It's so much easier to just write people off as rat bastards and actually know why they're rat bastards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like just because he left at 14 years old because his dad was abusive, like he knew that he needed to just like change. He didn't want that for his children. But I feel like you're not absent of being verbally abusive still, because you still have those traits, you know, like, so he might have been a step up from his dad, but he definitely still like it takes stages of abusive fathers to like finally like get out of that. Like, I could not believe how verbally abusive he was to his son in like this sort of nostalgic way of still like connecting it to his failed baseball career.
Yeah.
I like how everything was always went back to baseball for him. It's like that was like his safe place. Anytime that he needed to try to get his point across, everything was in baseball metaphors.
Yeah, like that's strike one, that's strike two.
Yeah.
Give the guy a bunt at least.
You have a full count. You better not strike out, which is one of my favorite lines of this movie. Also, there's so much baseball talk in this, and as a person who loved like baseball statistics, especially of this era, I was like, yeah, I understand all these references. This is cool. But I think the scariest thing about his character is that he is super real, and people like him still exist today, especially with that trait of, oh, that's what I was in my late teens, early 20s. I could have made it. I didn't. Because of this, that blaming everybody else, not himself, blaming everybody else because of it. Maybe rightfully so. He does have plenty of great points in it, but he also blames everybody else and not himself at any point when he's talking about his career. And then when it comes to his son, again, he's kind of living vicariously through him. But whereas today we'd kind of see it as, oh, the parent who couldn't make it is putting too much pressure on their kid to make it, where here it's the opposite of he's taking all the pressure of them wanting to go to college and play football and making him go right into the workforce instead of, promoting that his son should pursue this and go to college and get the education.
Especially when like everybody around him is like, the times are changing. Like, this is the time when, the black players are actually getting play time on the field in baseball and football. And, he actually has a shot at doing this, but because you didn't, you automatically just assume he's not.
It in a way reminds me of a little bit of when we talked about Summer of Sam last month, with how Spike Lee was portraying the changing of times during the 70s, early 80s when that was taking place. Of the 50s that we are coming off. This is post World War II. Times are changing. Like he was saying, Jackie Robinson was had entered the majors just a few years before this movie takes place, and so I think that changing time theme is a big theme going on in this movie, and how Denzel's character is not changing with the times, and how both of his sons, even though there is also an age gap between them as well, they are changing with the times and have different perspectives as well, especially coming from different childhoods between the two of them. Of one son was from, I assume, a previous marriage or previous, another mother, and then Viola Davis's son, who is the one trying to get into college. And I think the Lions, he's a great character in this too, because he also has this, I think even more so than the son, the what's his name?
Corey.
Corey has kind of a grasp on the changing of times too. Because he's a struggling musician, doesn't have a full-time job. He's 30-something years old, still goes to Denzel on Fridays to get $10 just to have some money. Well, his wife gets a job in this movie, like halfway through the movie. And again, kind of a changing of times theme of this movie, of his wife is the one that's the breadwinner of the family, and he's the struggling artist just trying to make it by. I thought that was really interesting too, because we don't often get to see that side of the cultural change of the 50s portrayed in film very often.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the interesting thing about Denzel is, in his character in this, is especially his relationship with Lyons, is, you have to make your own way. You have to, it's the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing. And when it's revealed that he's only where he's at in life because he essentially took advantage of his brother's disability, it's like, oh my God. Like, it just, every reveal in the second half of this movie about him just sinks your opinion of him just lower and lower and lower. And then the movie just like ends on such a weirdly hopeful, like wholesome note. And I don't know. It's hard to articulate how this movie takes someone that you find morally reprehensible, and then by the end of this movie you're still rooting for this guy. Like, you're still kind of like, you still want his family to get together. You still want them to remember him. You still want them to remember like the good qualities he had.
Mm-hmm.
Be there ever so few of them. It's such a tightrope of a character piece, and the staging of, like, I don't know, just the script of this walking that tightrope so elegantly is, I think, one of the coolest things about this. And that's why I just love to see this performed live, with all the different little nuances that sometimes live theater can bring in. Because, man, I would want to see this story again, but I want to see it told just in a slightly different way, because it's such a fascinating character piece,
I think with Gabriel too, he sort of helps you still care for Troy. Like, he's so does Rose, but I feel like Gabriel's always there rooting for him, thinking that, like, he's gonna scare the hellhounds away and the gates are gonna open up, and just like that whole thing. He's always believed in Troy no matter what. And I think without Gabriel's character, Troy would sort of not be, like, he wouldn't end on that light, like you said, still kind of rooting for him.
Yeah.
Without Gabriel, and then a little bit of Rose still, but even though she's broken almost before the end.
Right.
That the ending is kind of where I struggled with the movie a little bit, is that we get the cut to black, and it's like 7 years later-ish, 6-7 years later, the daughter that is born out of wedlock, Raynell,
the Williams sister.
The Raynell, just like, she's now she's now can speak, has her own thoughts, has her own opinions on her father, and we don't ever get those. And I was like, that's an interesting choice. I don't know if it's just because that's how the stage play was. I think it's a very curious thing to be left out of this movie, because she is a vital part of his story by the end of it. It'd be curious to at least maybe with her get more of that hope side of him coming out of, maybe he was, like Sam said, a rat bastard dad to Corey and Lyons, but maybe he was a perfect father to Raynell, and like, we can at least see two sides and how he grew as a person, as a human, after all of these events. But we really don't get a lot of that. We can tell that she doesn't hate him. She's not spiteful of him ever in those final scenes. I assume that also she hung out with with his brother Gabriel quite a bit, just because of their little interactions. And she's like holding his hand at the end of, okay, she at least knew who he was and have probably hung out with him and had interactions with him many times and has a fondness for him. I just wish we had a little bit more of that. That's where I find the ending satisfying, but like I want a little more here. Of we could have spent
maybe
a little more time,
abrupt.
maybe. Yeah, a little bit. It's a little abrupt, especially when Denzel is kind of just gone and out of the story. I don't mind that. I just kind of would. Let's spend half hour, 45 minutes with that instead of 15, 20 minutes. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
I'll spin it like this in terms of her and whatnot. As somebody who's got kids that are about her age that she is in the movie, when we cut to that future part of it, at that age, she probably only sees the good. She only sees the part about the dad that she likes. She isn't old enough to really articulate or really be able to see the negative as much. Kids are at that point, everything is puppy dogs and rainbows. So, unless he was literally being an absolute like shit show of a father and whatnot, she's probably not going to articulate that way in terms of how she sees her dad. So, when Corey comes back and whatnot, that's the first thing that, she's not going to bring up. Well, oh, you're finally here. I get to finally be with somebody who's not an asshole like dad was. She's too young to really be able to kind of express that, I would say.
Like the innocence is still very much.
Yeah.
And plus, I also think that with Rose, I think Rose basically took the precedence over Denzel's character to say, I'm going to raise this child because I know you can't, basically. So she had a very strong woman figure to be able to lean on as well.
Yeah. And I definitely think that's one of the stage elements that comes through in the movie of we just have the constraints of what we can do on stage and what we can't do in film. And I think for me, like that's the biggest part of the movie that doesn't work 100% is I wish it had a little more cinematic qualities. If we're going to adapt a stage play, let's make it a little more cinematic. Like we said, has moments of it. And I love the scenes where we are just sitting and having conversation and dialogue. But there are like, I think a big thing missing for me is like when we talk about other characters and we don't ever get to see them. I think that's a big missing piece for me in the movie of
it felt at times a little Dracula 1931 where it's like, look, a dog is running across the yard with like the character that Denzel's having an affair with. Granted,
Isabel?
you don't need to explicitly see us. You know what's happening. You get the sense that he is stepping out of his marriage. But I don't know, like to me it seemed weird in a movie where you could do something, you wouldn't just show that instead of telling it through dialogue.
I think you're telling it through dialogue though, because with us being central to the house and whatnot, you're more or less seeing it through Rose's perspective, not through his. So she's not going to see who this lady is. She's never going to meet this woman. She's not going to see all of that's going on. So I think us not seeing it is just basically giving us the perspective of what goes on between these four walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the movie breaks those rules though a couple times though. Like when he goes to the bar and hangs out with his best friend. Like I just think it's one scene with her, especially the what was the mistress, the woman he was having an affair with. What was her name again?
Alberta.
Alberta. I wish we had at least one scene with her. That's all we need too, of knowing who that is. Same with Bono's wife. Like he keeps mentioning her and gets like updates throughout the movie of his wife. I'm like, where is she? Like bring her along.
Yeah.
Like she's a character. She's obviously a character and a big part of his life, and he's a big, part of the story here. I just wish we would have got some of those characters that are just mentioned through dialogue in this movie, and it could at least differentiate the stage play from the movie. I think it would have been a big help, both cinematically and setting itself apart a little bit, and maybe even a nice treat for people who had seen the stage play I was like, oh, I remember seeing this 3 times on stage. Now I actually get to see this character that was never in the stage adaptation because they're doing a film version, and we actually get to bring those characters to life. I think that would have been a benefit to the movie and added something to all of the characters as well, instead of just being something in the dialogue.
But I mean, the stage play, your limitation isn't going to be like the space or anything like that. It's not to say that those characters couldn't have actually had people that would have been cast for those characters and whatnot. And I think if you're just adding too many characters, there's one thing to reference to, like Bono's wife and stuff like that. You're adding these people and whatnot, but at that point you're gonna, to a certain point, start distracting and thinning out a little bit. I would rather they take the time and put in the quality of work into the characters we can see than worrying about all these additional supporting characters we can use only in context. We don't necessarily need to have a physical body to put a face to the name.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Alberta's absence was sort of needed. Like she died anyway, and I kind of expected that to happen by them not showing her.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't think Bono's wife was as important to the story to add her to it. But I could see, Casey, what you mean by adding Alberta. But at the same time, I feel like the impact that she left in general, the child, was enough for her character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I it's not a. I think it's for me, it's both the positive and the negative of the movie. Like, I know why it works, but like as a movie, I'd like to see it. But as a stage, I'm like, yeah, let's not show it because that kind of works a little better. But that's just me. I don't know. What do I know? But
yeah, what do you know?
I think having some of the other characters pop in would have been nice to just been like, oh, hey, there's more than 5 people in this world.
It felt very weird. Start tweeting Denzel for his Denzel cut or something.
I think this is what we got here. Yeah, I think, but at least directing wise, Denzel does a fantastic job in this movie.
Yeah.
Especially with the performance he's giving in here too, of being like that type of person while also having to direct other actors on set. That's going to be a really tough thing to do, of going back and forth from being this not so great person to everybody, and then being a director and directing these people. I think that's a very interesting dynamic to have on set.
Can you imagine if he was character?
Like a method actor, like Daniel Day-Lewis did, and was just like in character as Troy, berating them for their performance.
Yeah, if someone didn't act correctly, strike 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just carrying around a baseball bat the entire time, just smacking it in his hand.
One more strike and I'm recasting you.
Oh man.
But that being said, I think Viola Davis in this movie, Denzel kind of gets the big moments of like a little bit of like, oh, this is what you would show in the Oscar reel type of thing, just because he does have more moments to stand out because he is the main character of this and has those big outbursts, like the big scene we talked about with the fight over the baseball bats, and whether why his son asks him why he doesn't like him. I think that's a fantastic scene. But Viola Davis gets the small moments throughout this. Even when Denzel is telling his story, she is kind of the one that reels him back to reality throughout all these stories that he's telling. And this is how it actually happened. Or every time you tell that story,
I love how she calls
you
him on his
something
shit
new
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best.
Because it's Viola Davis, she's going to.
Yeah. And also, like, Bono. Can we just talk about Bono for a little bit? Like, not the YouTube guy. Yeah. But,
Bono?
On this podcast, we talk about
this
Bono.
guy right here.
Yeah, that guy right there behind Brian's shoulder.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time he shows up, I have a great big smile. There's something about him that just makes you feel warm and fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, even like him in Dune, you're just like, oh, it's that guy. I'm so glad he's here.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah,
in Dune.
Yeah, in Dune, when Timothy Chalamet like runs up to him and like hugs him, and you don't even really know who this guy is. I just love that scene.
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, okay.
You don't remember him standing right next to Josh Brolin and Oscar Isaac?
Yeah, okay. I remember him now. God, Dune. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I liked Dune more.
I don't like Dune. Don't worry.
Okay, thank God. I felt so alone on this island.
We'll just stay on our sandworm island on this side. That's okay.
Yeah. So back to this Bono.
Yeah, Bono's just he's such a comforting presence that every time he's on screen, like he's just this light breath of fresh air. Because like a lot of the scenes that are just between like Denzel and his son or Denzel and Viola, like those are so like there's just a tension to them, and I feel like he's the instant like tension reliever. He's the chamomile tea that just like seeps in. It's like, oh, you're nice, and I don't know. I just wanted to hug him every time he popped up. I was like, yeah, like I would sit in my backyard and chat with you for hours, dude.
With a pint.
Yeah,
right. He's definitely the guy you want to just sit in the backyard and just have a drink with.
Feet in the kiddie pool, just like
I like how he was always like, when everything got intense, he was like, all right, well, I better get back. And then he's like, no, don't go anywhere. Like he was obviously awkward. Like he felt awkward about everything, but he was just so submissive and like, all right, I'll stay.
Yeah.
All right. I know I have to work with you tomorrow, so I'll stay 5 more minutes.
He has this like real uncle quality to everyone.
Oh, for sure.
Like he's kind of just sitting there. He's never part of the arguments. And he's like you said, you can tell he feels uncomfortable. Like, all right, about time for me to go home.
Slap the knee. Oh,
yeah.
But also the
he
kind
was
of
the
thing
Midwestern character in this movie.
About to hit the old dusty trail.
If you're gonna yell at me, don't worry. You can yell in front of him too, because I've known him forever, so it's okay that he's here.
Yeah, you got something to say? You can say it in front of Bono.
See, that's why I wanted his wife, because I want to hear him going back to her and just telling her all these horror stories of what's going on at Troy's house. It's like, oh, you would never guess what he did now.
We need I think a spin-off series.
Yeah.
Thank you for being the sane wife.
Soon to HBO Max, Bono.
Oh my God.
Not the musician.
Not the musician. You make a mention in regards to him and how, warm and comforting and whatever, but myself personally, in terms of like scene stealing and whatnot, is definitely Gabriel's with Micheletti Williamson. Like anytime I see him show up, I'm always excited as well. Like, and just I think the performance that he gives in such a unique character, you get to see glimmers because of him. You get to see some of those glimmers of hope in Denzel, in how, he's just trying to do right by his brother, knowing his brother can't quite do right by himself, even though sometimes he gets a little shady with it, especially when he gets him into the asylum so he can have the money.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things I find the most interesting part of Denzel's character is how he interacts with everyone, because you do get to see both sides of it with no matter who he's acting against. Because you get to see the good with him and Rose. You get to see the good with him and his sons at points, not very often, but at points. You get to see probably the most good out of him with Gabe, but underneath that surface that, he's kind of maybe just in it for the money, or at least, if I'm going to help my brother, I might as well
get paid in the process,
benefit from it as well.
Well, and Gabe's constant questioning of him, like, are you mad at me? Like that gives you some insight into what that relationship is most likely about when they're behind closed doors, when they're not around other people. Because you don't really see Denzel talking with Gabe outside of like having someone else in the near vicinity,
Yeah. Well, and the way I was kind of spinning it, because they mentioned the reason why Gabe is the way he is because of being in the military and getting, basically blowed up, but, the fact that, the way I saw it was that, what happened prior to him going into the military, because it almost feels like that's what it was stemming from before he was hurt, and that's what he was latching onto. Is why is his brother mad at me? Is his brother mad at him? Is that why he went into the military? Is that why he's mad at him because he did get hurt? That sort of thing. So I kind of always questioned, why is it that he thinks that he's mad at him, and has he been mad since before he got hurt?
I never thought about it that way. I kind of just thought Troy's always sort of angry after too much liquor.
Yeah.
So with him always being around, it always seemed like the worst time. He's like, Rose gonna make me a sandwich, and it's like he just wants to eat a sandwich, but then at the same time Troy is like freaking out at everyone. Like maybe he just associates Troy with like just being an angry person too.
That could be.
One other point I want to bring up, just because I just remembered it, is whenever they're passing the drink back and forth, obviously it's a way to have like, oh, they're just having a conversation, sharing a drink. But also in that, you can tell what type of person everybody is when they're drinking too. Like that's what I find really, really interesting, because Troy is like, if he's drinking that bottle, you better not be around him after it's gone. And with Bono, it's like he's just gonna sit there and tell you stories, and you're gonna just laugh until the morning together and just share stories and have a good time. And you just get that, and it's never explicitly said he's an angry alcoholic. It's never explicitly said like Bono's just a big storyteller, big cuddly teddy bear when he drinks. We never get that explicitly said, but you can just tell in the way they're acting, the way the characters are portrayed, that's part of their character traits as well. And I thought that was really interesting to have those little subtleties and character moments as well.
There's the one like blip. It was like just a quick shot of Troy waking up after a night of drinking. Do you remember that? Where he's like sweating?
Yeah.
Granted, I think it's like summertime, but like it's sort of like he has a bad dream and he wakes up and he's sweating. And I wonder if he, at the one point at the beginning, he was saying, I drink on the weekends only. I'm not an alcoholic. But then it's like, but you drink probably a lot on the weekends for you to just wake up in a sweat and have all of these, I don't even know, night sweats or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He again, a character who makes excuses for everything that's not him.
His fault.
It's not his
never
fault.
His fault.
I only drink on paydays. I only drink on Fridays. Yeah, you're still a terrible person when you drink. It doesn't give you an excuse that you're relatively okay 6 out of the 7 days of the week, but again, it's that character of like, oh, I only drink 1 day out of the week. Yeah, but you're a terrible person when you do so. Even worse.
And he's like criticizing Rose for going to gamble like a couple of nickels or whatever. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
How many nickels did that bottle of booze cost you? And who are you pouring out at the very beginning, right when you open up that bottle too? It's probably the couple of nickels that she's spending.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, a changing times theme of the movie too. Of she's basically the accountant of the house too. Like he says too. Like I give her my paycheck, she gives me whatever back, and that's my portion that I still get to keep from it. And I think that's also kind of interesting that we're in that kind of social and gender dynamic of the time as well. Of she's the one in charge of the money. She's probably more educated than he is at this point, because he says he can't read or drive in the movie.
Yep.
So I think that's again little subtle character moments and character traits of the movie that really shine and stand out and add something to the movie as a whole.
You make mention about how like you wish that there had been more that we would have seen outside of those four walls, and you talked about him not being able to read and drive immediately. He makes a comment, what do you need to know how to be able to drive? You just need to know you need a boy to point the truck. I kind of want to see Denzel not being able to drive a truck try to drive a truck.
That's in the comedy Bono series.
Yeah. That's what this movie could have used is an Austin Powers like montage where it's just Troy trying to get the garbage truck U-turned on a city street.
It's gonna be a montage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were going that he was gonna like run someone over in the street, and yet they're like 50 feet away, telling him to stop.
Oh yeah, that would be part of the montage.
I'm just applauding the fact we got a Team America reference here.
I love Team America.
It's so great.
Add a little levity to Fences with Team America and Austin Powers.
Have any of you guys seen Velocipaster?
Hell yeah.
No, I haven't yet. I need to.
There was a double feature at Casey's house that involved Velocipaster, and I had to leave, and I only got as far as the CGI sequence in the very, very, very beginning of that movie. I'm like, I'm missing out on something amazing.
It's so good. I think it's on Prime if you ever have time, but there's the really good montage scene, actually, probably where all their budget went on, like in the middle of the movie. It's like a neon demon kind of mixed with, I don't know, Velocipaster, I guess, but it's so crazy.
All right, I'm in. That's bumped up on my watch list. It's happening this week.
Good thing I have a double feature now for what to pair with Fences. Velocipaster.
My double feature's wild.
Actually, please, that would actually be great.
It is on Prime.
Let's get into our final thoughts of Fences here. So we'll start with I'll start on the bottom here, and we'll kind of go round robin. Final thoughts and score of the movie. Like I said, I think it's a great adaptation of the stage play. Powerhouse performances from Denzel and Viola Davis, and the supporting cast is just as incredible and adds something to all of their characters too. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Could go up to I'm debating between that and a 3.5 to 4 out of 5. I think this is, because of those performances, what stands out the most. And that first half of the movie, especially with those dialogue scenes, I think are just dynamite. But like I said, sort of in the second half, I start to lose a little steam with some of the less cinematic qualities of the movie, but that's not taking away from the overall performances of everybody in this. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this movie to people who are, no pun intended here, on the fence of Fences. Definitely recommend the movie.
That pun was completely intended. Not intended, my ass.
I mean, I can just piggyback off that because I think, like you and I, feel pretty similar, Casey. Like, I really loved this. I rated it the same as you, with the acknowledgement that it probably will go up as time goes on. I think part of the reason that I'm a little like not as like, oh my God, this is great, is because you ever have those times where you're just like not feeling like a particular type of movie because you're feeling another particular type of movie?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole time that I was watching this, I was thinking about the bus massacre from the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I know that's such a dumb thing, but like right now, I'm in a schlocky horror mode, and like I want to watch this again when I'm in one of those more like, oh, I need like something that's not fast food. I need something that I can actually chew on. So I'm looking forward to revisiting this at a later date when I'm not like sitting there going, this would be so much better with Leatherface. So yeah, I think the performances all around are incredible. I'm shocked. I just kind of assumed that Viola Davis had more than one Oscar. But I suppose if one of her roles was to get the Oscar, this should probably be it. I think my favorite performance of hers is still The Help from last week. I thought that was just, that final scene got me. Yeah, to me, she's the heart and soul of this movie. Denzel is great, but she's better. And it's not competition, but she is. Like, she runs away with every scene that she's in, and I'm so glad that we did a Viola Davis month, because this was a hell of a run.
I think she runs away with it compared to Denzel, because Denzel knows the caliber of what she's capable of, and that's the between him as the supporting opposite actor to her, but also as the director, to let her do what she needs to do and not try to overshadow her because he is Denzel.
Well, and we've talked about this on literally every episode that we've done for this month, but she just has tremendous chemistry with everybody. There's not a single person that she can't act against and bring out better performances from them. It's she's incredible. She is one of the greatest talents that we have working today, and I'm so glad that we did this month. That's my big final thoughts. Screw it. I'm bumping it up to 4 right now. This is a 4-star movie. Go watch it.
Yeah. I was gonna say for me it's easily a 4-star just because I think, in Casey's response of, need to be bigger and more than just those 4 walls, I think those 4 walls speak absolute volumes, and that's everything that we need to give us the absolute amazing performances that we get out of everybody. I mean, even for a little 7-year-old little girl that's gonna go on, because I looked at her, I was like, she looked kind of familiar. She's absolutely adorable in this movie, and I realized that she's one of the Williams sisters in King Richard.
Yeah.
And just like everybody,
is she the one that won the Oscar, or not won? Putting the cart before the horse, nominated.
I'm trying to remember, but anyway,
no,
I mean,
she's not.
She's the other one. I think she plays Serena.
Okay.
Or I don't remember. Anyway, but I mean, just everybody overall just does a bang up job, and so I agree. I think it's absolutely worth it, and I think this is one of those movies that I think a lot of people can get behind, and because it's not overly exaggerated. There isn't a lot going on. It's just all about the story and the performances.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm in the same boat, 4 out of 5. And the only reason why I'm not saying like a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5, because it is a really great movie, is just because it's just performances for me. It's not really much else. It's just performances.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a whole lot of, I mean, you can think about like the thoughts and kind of sit with the idea of, submissive wives and abusive fathers and things like that. And it kind of makes you think, but besides the performances, I don't really know what else this really brings to the table. But I mean, still, it's 4 out of 5. So with that said, also I agree with what you said, Sam. Like, I forgot completely that this was a play, like a base off of play. So when I started it, I was like, oh, this is, I'm watching a play right now, and this is kind of not what I'm in the mood for. But so 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
All right, then.
So that's 100% on the backlot tomato meter. Go check it out.
100%. All right. Let's get to our last question then. If you are going to watch Fences again, and you're going to pair it with another movie for a double feature movie night, what movie are you going to pair Fences with?
I'm going to pair Fences with the movie I intend to cap my night off with after this, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's no thematic elements that tie them together, nothing. It's just that's the double feature I'm going with. I don't know another movie like Fences. Fences is kind of just its own thing. So is the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that's
yeah.
This is why we cannot have nice things.
I was kind of in the same boat as Sam of like, what am I in the mood for right now? Kind of to rewatch the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
But
both movies have hammers. There's my through line.
What about baseball bats?
Actually, I think they do have a baseball bat in the new one, don't they? Yeah, they do.
Mm-hmm. I want to see Viola Davis act alongside Leatherface in the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Oh my God. I know it's 2 different companies, but I would pay big bucks for Amanda Waller versus Leatherface movie. 2 terrifying types of genre mashing together. Like, oh my God.
Now, see, the reason why that wouldn't work is Leatherface would look at Amanda Waller and just tap out like, I'm out, and just walk off the other way. Like, nope. Here, I'll take it off. Here, you can keep it.
It'd be like that scene from Texas Chainsaw 3D where he just like randomly chucks his chainsaw to the side and runs off into the woods.
All right, who wants to go next?
Fan edit something.
I'm gonna go with a real suggestion. I'm just saying. And I mentioned about this before is I would pair this with Training Day, just because you look at this and you see how much of a little bit of an asshole that Washington is, and then you watch Training Day, you realize, oh, the guy in Fences actually has a little bit of good in him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely worse in Training Day than he is here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean worse performance-wise. I mean,
it has been a long. This is making me talking about this making me want to go back. I have not watched it in probably 15 years.
What's like the sequel, like that? Not the sequel, but the other one that he did that was right after that, with Ethan Hawke too.
Oh, that is a great question.
I always thought that they were sequels. It's like kind of like an unsaid trilogy, kind of. Maybe not. Maybe it's just the two movies.
Where is 99?
Wow, I don't know.
Because that one is fresher in my brain.
You've stumped us.
Yeah, I know. Because after that we've got John Q, Antoine Fisher, Out of Time, Man on Fire, Manchurian Candidate, Inside Man. Because this is the part where he's getting into a lot of those like Scott movies and whatnot. Book of Eli, Unstoppable.
Oh, sorry, not Denzel. I don't know if Denzel Washington's in it. It's that same director who did Training Day.
Oh, Anton Fuqua did. What did he do later? Or wait, yeah. I don't know, but their Equalizer movie is tremendous. Actually, no, wait, that's what I'm changing my double feature to. Follow this up with the Equalizer. It's still not a good double feature, but
it's like the one where I think it's Ethan Hawke and his wife like is sick because there's black mold in the house. You remember? Maybe I'm just imagining things.
I think you might be, because after
is Magnificent Seven like the end cap of this?
Tears of the Sun?
I don't know.
No. After Training Day is Tears of the Sun, King Arthur, Shooter, Brooklyn's Finest, Olympus Has Fallen.
1 second.
Oh my God! For a minute there,
we're all on our phones now.
I saw Shooter and I thought it was the poster for The Happening for a second. I was like, "Oh my God!" Anton Fuqua
Brooklyn's Finest.
Brooklyn's Finest. Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, that's Richard Gere and Don Cheadle, Wesley Snipes. It's like I don't know if that's like an unsaid trilogy, but I think it might be with that director.
I'm not gonna lie, I forgot Ethan Hawke was in Brooklyn's Finest.
I just remember like how his wife was basically dying of black mold illness and he was trying to rob stuff. That's all I remember.
What do you got for your double feature? I'm just buying time because I have no idea what I'm going to say.
Mine was between two, and should I say my crazy one first, or should I say like my logical?
Can you get crazier than Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No, but yeah, no, I don't know, probably not. I don't know.
Do it.
So my crazy thing, and I don't know why I thought about this, mainly because I think Viola Davis brought this out in me, like her character in this movie. Well, she's not in this one, but Lars von Trier's Breaking the Waves.
Oh, I haven't seen this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a sort of a similar. Nothing really is similar in terms of plot. It's not. I don't think it's a theater adaptation or anything like that. But in terms of like the manipulation that the husband has on the wife and how submissive she is, kind of like doing whatever she has to, like whatever he has to say, kind of that aspect.
Okay.
And doing whatever she can to possibly make the husband happy. It's Stellan Skarsgård, the old Skarsgård, right? And then Emily Thomas?
Emily Watson.
Emily Watson. I get all the Emmas and Emily's confused.
I happen to be looking at it right now, so
okay.
I'm not that smart.
Yeah, and then at the end too, it has a very similar ending. And I guess if you didn't like the ending for this movie, I don't know, but I didn't cry the whole movie in Breaking the Waves until the ending that very much mirrors this ending in this movie. Different ways, and like it's not anything at all, like, but it's, if you're into like a sort of, can you curse on this?
Go for it.
Fucked up movie. But Lars von Trier is just a fucked up director.
if you watch anything Lars von Trier, you better be ready to see some like serious shit. Like,
yeah, and this is like lighter than like say Antichrist or anything like that, but which I have not seen, but I've heard things.
That's an easy feat.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But yeah, sort of that like Emily Watson's doing whatever she can to make her husband happy kind of thing. She's in the sidelines, but yeah. And then my more logical choice is One Night in Miami, which is like, also based on a play, I think, and it sort of has that around the same time period. And I think Marcus mentioned it last episode briefly for The Help, which I've never seen The Help, so I don't know, but yeah, those are my
yeah.
If you want something crazy, weird, breaking the waves, if you want another like play adaptation, One Night in Miami.
Oh, Regina King, yeah. Heck yeah.
Probably the same year I thought Fences came out when One Night in Miami did.
I think it's 2019.
Yeah. Mine, I'm gonna go with a very loose connection between this Fences and another movie that involves baseball more heavily and fathers and sons. I'll just go with Field of Dreams. I'll start with Fences. We'll go to Field of Dreams right after. End a little happier, more baseball, fathers and sons. Has a more happy and fulfilling ending. Maybe we could have used Ghost Denzel at the end of this movie, like we get in Field of Dreams, and he has a catch with his sons. I don't know, but that's my connection between the two. Just to leave off on a more happy note, I guess, than Fences. Field of Dreams.
I think now you have to quote it, though.
Hey, Dad, how about... I'm going to start crying, though. How about a catch? No. Oh, that's my favorite line, but...
Oh, okay. If you build it, he will come.
Or if you quote the Benchwarmers, if you build it, nerds will come. So.
Yeah.
Sam would like that. The only two people in the world that like Benchwarmers are on this podcast, I guess.
It's not me.
It is not.
It's me. I'm just gonna say it. I love that.
I don't mind it. I love dumb comedies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't mind a dumb comedy, but I do have my limits.
I'm going for the brothers bowl cut actually with my hair.
There's sunscreen off to the side.
Yeah,
to snack on.
Start pissing in a bottle.
Is that apple juice? No. All right. I don't know how we went from Fences to Benchwarmers, but it happened. We're here. We also brought up Team America and Austin Powers. So a typical episode of the Backlot 605 podcast.
That just proves the caliber of the kind of people we are.
Mm-hmm.
Range.
Did you guys hear what Denzel Washington's favorite Happy Madison movie is?
What is it?
Have you guys heard this?
Oh.
It's Benchwarmers.
All right, let's end the show. Let's get to the plugs here. If you liked this podcast, and now after that line, I don't know why you would. You can subscribe to hear maybe better jokes than that on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Amazon Music, and YouTube. As Brian joins us, I will let him shout off the social media plugs here as Sam nearly ended the show.
Oh, permanently at that kind of joke. Jesus.
What episodes were you're on? Episode 107? Is that what you said?
170.
172.
Oh, okay.
It's been a good run, boys.
Yep.
Yep.
You can check us if this still keeps going. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd HQ. You can also check us out the South Dakota Film Community Group on Facebook. Join the conversation with us, film lovers, film enthusiasts, filmmakers, just people who love talking about movies. If they attempt to try to think they're going to get more out of you, Sam, where else can they find more of you?
If you like that pun and you want more, join us at patreon.com/backlot605, where we do 4 bonus episodes a month. We're having fun. We're talking new releases, cult classics, that type of thing. We're going to be dropping an episode on Texas Chainsaw Massacre this week. I'm so excited. So if you want to hear me gush about the party bus sequence in that movie, you can subscribe to our Patreon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One extra episode each week.
a lot to actually gush about in that movie. There's a lot of gushing going on in it. So,
it made me want fruit gushers and Go-Gurt. All right.
Let's end this.
I'm running out of steam. I'm sorry.
Sandra's not going to want to come back.
Let's throw it off to our guest here. Where can the people find you online and your podcast and anything else you would like to plug?
Okay. Well, if you are on Instagram, you can follow me at Film Forager. That's my film page. Right now I'm currently doing my top 100 films of all time, subject to change. But yeah, that, and then our podcast, you can find us on, basically any sort of streaming service, Spotify, Apple. It's the Fellowship of the Mic. My co-host Satch and I talk about the Lord of the Rings, and I think that's all I've got. I don't know. Follow the Coyote Twin if you're really interested in local theater.
Yeah, if you're in the Vermilion area, make your way to the Coyote Twin theaters to check out a movie there. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been a blast. I'm sorry for Sam's terrible jokes, but hopefully you will come back on a future episode.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
Yes. See?
My co-host is British, and I don't really get a lot of his jokes, so it's fine.
I mean, I don't have that excuse. My jokes are just bad, but
it was like I don't know if I can compare your jokes, Sam, to British jokes, because at least those have substance most of the time.
Hey,
yeah, it's just like a lot of slang that I'm like, what are you? I don't even know what this word means.
That's where the humor of this show just comes from Happy Madison movies. So we're pretty easy to understand with the jokes, no matter how terrible or punny that they end up being. But again, thank you so much for joining us. We absolutely have to have you back on in the near future. Do we have anything else we need to plug, boys, before we end this?
Not currently. I guess I don't think anyway.
So.
Unless you want to talk about people not having friends.
You guys don't want to talk about what we're doing next month?
Is it next month already?
It is going to be next month. Yes, Sam. All right, I will just do it anyway. This is our final episode of Viola Davis month, where we covered some of the biggest films in her illustrious career. And next month, we're getting a little movie that will probably play at the Coyote Twin Theater called The Batman. It is this little indie film hitting theaters very soon. They may have made one or two before this, and we're going to be talking about those one or two movies that they made before this. Actually, 5 of them. So we're going to be doing 5 Batman movies for the month of March. Classics, animated films, maybe Batman and Robin. Oh God, help us all. We're gonna be talking about them. So next month is
Batman and Robin.
I would like to point out that when we've done character type of months, the bats have been involved between this and Dracula. Like, I think you're having a theme here, Casey.
We love the bats, including the bat that's in
movies we can do.
That's in there's more Batman movies, but the connection here is that Denzel has a bat in Fences, and that's I don't know. I'm trying to just end this now. Batman month, kicking it off with 1966 Adam West Batman next week. So that'll be kicking off our Batman series for the month of March. So be on the lookout for that. But we will wrap things up here. For Sam Lenz, Brian Mensing, I'm Casey Kelderman. Thank you all for listening and joining us here, right from the backlot of South Dakota.
Bye.